What's up, guys? Jeremy Conn, the Lowdown here with Pickdawgz. Make sure you're checking out pickdawgz.com. Hit the like, subscribe buttons. Obviously, that helps us out, so please do that. And, of course, if you hit the notification button, it'll let you know every time one of these videos gets posted. A couple things to go over. And, again, I've talked about recording these early and just some things I noticed. On Thursday, I went 5-0-1 in my 6 plays. Hit a WNBA play, the NBA Finals. I had the under on that, and of course, we didn't have to sweat that at all. So, and of course, with baseball, I went 3-0-1. My one push was the A's over, but my weather play of the day was the Yankees over. Fortunate what happened in the 8th inning there, and it just things went well. And the only reason I'm bringing it up, it's not a pat myself on the back. It's just that was a day where we had, I think it was 12 games of wind blowing at 10 miles an hour, either out or in. It was blowing in at Wrigley, and of course they got knocked around there. Not at Wrigley, in the Brewers game. Was that against the Twins? Either way, everything's kind of running together. But that went over the total. That was a loser for the one blowing in if you're looking for an edge there. But I think it was like 7-4-1. Or 7-5, depending on where you got the number. So it was a winning day if you just took all those and bet the over. I'm not suggesting you do that, but the one thing I'm pointing out is I was very fortunate to be on the right side of a lot of those games and trying to find the best spots with weather. That's what I look for, and it's not just weather. That's an edge. I'm looking for an edge on a game. So that was something I think really helped out. We have a ton of wind. On Friday over the weekend. So there is a lot of weather to help. So if you guys want to check out any of the premium picks, please do over at pickdawgz.com. I've been great in the WNBA and MLB, hitting it like 58%, 59%. We're going to see if we can get that number to stay close to that or even go up. But yeah, it's been good so far, and hopefully you guys have checked out some of that. And I know the guys, I love looking at the leaderboard, seeing all the names up there and how other guys are doing, and a lot of guys killing it. So just something for you. And then another thing I wanted to throw out, you're going to hear me talk about a lot of plays here. On Friday, the Rockies were playing the Diamondbacks. I haven't watched that game yet to see what happens, to watch the finish. I just want to kind of show you how my mind works for a game that obviously you can't look at it, but we are going to look at it for Saturday. It was Zach Gallen and the youngster for the Rockies that they like, I think Gomber. The total was sitting around 12. I've said this before. Coors Field is already a cheat code, right? Thin air, big ballpark, lots of extra base hits. Pitchers sometimes can't throw their breaking balls the way they want. And if hitters are sitting on fastballs, good luck. But when the weather is great at Coors, and I mean like really great, to me that's kind of a, hey, jump all over, right? Like the only reason I stayed away yesterday, or as I'm saying Friday, was because of just I saw so much money coming in on the over, and being a contrarian, it does get hard to bet, even if it is a good spot with 80% of the public. Like I can find the most cherry spot ever. I'm like, oh my God, this is great for hitters. I felt that way about Wrigley on Friday, and winds blowing out at like 16 miles an hour to left field. We got a lefty on the mound, which means it's great for righties. A lot of things there to like about it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that those plays are going to hit. And I'm not trying to play both sides of the fence here. It's just finding the ones that have the best situations overall, and that's what I like to do. And if you're looking at Coors Field and it's 90 degrees and the wind's blowing out, I don't know how much more of an advantage you can get. Although, again, didn't want to be with the public, so I just stayed away. It wasn't like I faded it. I just stayed away from the game. So we are going to talk about Coors Field today. In fact, it's going to be in my free play because it just looks ridiculous. This is one I should be selling too, but we'll get to that in a bit. All right, so let's start it off with the Orioles and the Yankees. As we've said before, looking at this, I was going back and forth with my guy about Zach Eflin. Had his worst start against the Rays, up to a 4. What do I have here? 4.31, 4.81, 1.24 whip. Clark Schmidt with a 3.16 and a 1.15. Clark Schmidt's look great. A little something from doing radio here. We were talking about the Yankees on the show since the Orioles are facing them. The Orioles haven't lost a series. They only lost one series in the past 2 years or past 3 years to the Yankees. They pushed on one. It was a 4-game set, so it was 2-2. But they've actually held their own against them. I don't know what type of Orioles team we have. I do think this is a good team now that they're getting healthy again, and the pitchers are starting to pitch better outside of some of the struggles they had this week in Tampa. They did split the series. I don't know if they can get back in the playoff picture because they've dug themselves a hole, but they are a good team in the standpoint of, if you look at what they've done the last 2 years. I just think they had a horrible start with all those injuries, and God knows what happened to Charlie Morton. I'd said on my show, shoot him into the sun. I don't want to see him again. And if you look at what he's done in June, it's like, is that the Charlie Morton from back in the Astros days? It's just ridiculous how he's pitched. I would lean under in this, even with 85 degrees, the wind's blowing out to right. Was looking for a lefty pitcher here. We don't get one because I think the right-handed bats would love that. But I do think an under's in play. Like I've said before, you can say what you want about Eflin. Solid pitcher, worst start of the season, last game. This is a guy who's going to have an ERA right around 4, sub 4, and he's going to keep him in games. Clark Schmidt's just been fantastic. So I'm going to lean towards the under in this play. Let's go to the Brewers and Twins. And all of these games, there's so much weather. I'll tell you all the strong winds again for today, and you guys can do what you want with it. But we have Quintana versus Simeon Wood Richardson. So Jose Quintana is still out there pitching. And this is a guy that's absolutely due for some negative regression. And what do I mean when I say that? If you look deeper into his numbers, you're like, okay, he's been a little lucky. He's been putting guys on base, getting double plays. And look, crafty lefties do that. You get the soft contact, get them to roll over, and it helps get you out of jams. But you can only do that so often. And he's a vet. He's pitched a long time. I think he's due for some negative regression. And Simeon Wood Richardson could just use a little help anywhere. I mean, his ERA and whip is chunky. This is a guy that can get knocked around. And the best part about this game, as I'm doing my glass thing, low 90s, 15 miles an hour wind blowing out to left field. And if it's blowing out to left, we want to look, do we have any lefties in this game? Can we target any of these right-handed bats? And oh, by the way, Jose Quintana, left-hander. And if you're going to look at the Twins and you're looking at right-handed bats, they have a couple of really, really good ones. It makes me interested in guys like Byron Buxton and Correa and O'Neill if he's healthy. You've got a bunch of guys on this team that, from the right-hand standpoint, that have a ton of power. Let me pull this up. I'm sorry I'm doing this on the fly because I just want to look at one of their last lineups to see what their righty lineup looks like. And like Byron Buxton, if that guy could just stay healthy, he's clearly one of the best players in baseball. He just never can stay healthy. So going back to this, I'm fumbling through everything. All right, here we go. So the Twins, I said here we go, and it's still not here. Where the hell is the damn game? Did they get a day off? Oh, there it is. It was the first game of the day. So I went back to Thursday, and you look at this Twins lineup. There are, Buxton, Castro, Larnach, Correa, even Ty France, who started to hit a little bit, Brooks Lee. You've got a bunch of guys in that lineup you can look at. Buxton clearly looking like the best with 15-mile-an-hour winds blowing out and a lefty on the mound. That is a ground ball lefty, and he's a fly ball hitter. We've talked about this. That's what you look for. I love the over here. I don't even know why I'm talking about it. I should have made this a premium play. It's just a great spot. But there's so many of them today that I think we're going to find the best ones. So I would look at the over there clearly. Let's go to the next game. It's the Royals and Padres. And I'm always giving you games that have weather, and I'm not going to just throw a game in that doesn't have something that you can look at. I'm always going to talk about the weather when it comes down to it, and these are always plays that I have on my list. I write down all the plays I like that match up with my handicapping, that match up with the weather. Take those. If they come together, it's going to be a top play for me. And there's times that I'll look at the slate and go, yeah, I think this is where people are going to bet, and this is where I'm going to be. And it happens quite a bit. So with the Royals and Padres, it's the mid-60s, 10 miles an hour. You got the wind blowing out to right center. Noah Cameron and Dylan Cease. And what do we say? Wind's blowing out to right or to left. You want to have a lefty out there with the wind blowing to right center here, and you have a lefty on the mound. That's going to negate some of the lefty pop, although it's, like I said, it's going to help some of the lefty pop, as it's going out. But the thing is, with this ballpark, it's huge, and both of these pitchers are really good. Noah Cameron, I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with your game, man. This kid just looks outrageously good. You look at that whip and look at that ERA, and you're going, whew, where did he come from? Big-time prospect, but he looks really, really good. Dylan Cease, one of my favorite pitchers in baseball. He's got one of the best sliders. ERA's a little up from his normal standards, but both of these guys can shut down lineups, even with the wind blowing out. I am going to lean under in this spot. just because of how great the pitchers are. I think that offsets some of the wind you're going to get out on the West Coast, especially like we've talked about with the Giant Stadium and now with the Padres Stadium, which is one of the biggest stadiums, one of the stadiums that's hardest to hit home runs in, is Petco. Now, let's get to let me do the weather first, the wind that's blowing out. So today we have extremely strong winds, that's 10 miles an hour plus, in the Cubs game, in the Pirates game, in the Rockies game, in the Twins game, Giants, Athletics, Cardinals, and Padres that we just went over with the 10 mile an hour. And again, not each one of these is created equally. But when we talk about Coors Field, I don't know how you get away from it, and maybe I made a mistake on Friday by not going with that over. I'll be able to find out in the morning. But the fact remains, it's 90 degrees at 9 p.m. Eastern time. It'd be 6 p.m. there. That's when the game's going to start. It's 90 degrees in Denver. Now, with the D-backs and Rockies, the wind is blowing out at 13 miles an hour. So you take one bonus. Okay, it's 90 degrees, great hitting weather. Wait a minute, the wind's blowing out too? Take on top of that, it's Coors Field. You ever see that Vince McMahon meme where he's like losing his mind? Like, that's where this is getting to. And then you get to the pitchers. The guys pitching today, Merrill Kelly, who's solid, fly ball pitcher. If the wind's blowing out the dead center and he's a fly ball pitcher, and if there's strong winds, you know this free play is going to be on the over. But it's not even like looking at Merrill Kelly. Like, yeah, it's a bonus that you get a solid pitcher that is a fly ball pitcher with the wind blowing out. Go look at Carson Palmquist, or don't, because everything is super chunky. 7.76 ERA, that's right, a 1.76 whip. That means he's putting almost 2 runners on base every inning. If he's doing that, and it's hot, and the wind's blowing out, and we're in Coors, I don't know how you stay away from the over here, or how high that thing can get. I don't know if it can get high enough for me. This just looks like an absolute juicy spot for hitters. And again, because I'm saying this is a good spot for hitters, doesn't mean you have to just look for the total. You can single out players. Like, I find guys all the time. I called a James Wood home run on Thursday, said he was my favorite player to homer. You looked at the spot, the matchup. He didn't homer once. He homered twice. And, and I'm not, again, it makes it sound like I'm patting myself on the back. I will do that from time to time, but I'll tell you when I'm dead wrong. I just think there's some spots that you look at and you're going, hey, I got to target it. Julio Rodriguez was one I was targeting Friday in the Wrigley game. Lefty on the mound, wind blowing out, and it just looked like a perfect spot for him. So do with that what you will with all the weather that's going on. You guys can take a look at those games and feel how you want. But again, the free play is on the over in the Rockies, and that Brewers-Twins game looks awesome. So I think maybe there's 2 free plays for you there. So hopefully it works out. Guys, enjoy your Saturday. I'll be back tomorrow with another podcast.